solving our problems with nature's solutions. Well, our problems have only been, we've only been trying to solve our problems for the last few 100 million years, whereas nature has been at the same project for at least, believe it or not, 3 billion years. So first of all, our first issue. Sometimes when you're in the middle of a dogfight, through those hard twists and turns which are just like, well, very, very hard to do and very close to each other, they provide a very, very high G-force. And this G-force makes the pilot's blood drain away from the head to the bottom of the body. And this causes the pilot to faint above just 3G. Now this problem is the solution to this problem is somewhere where you never expect it. It's in a giraffe. I mean, I'm not suggesting that giraffes should fly our aeroplanes, but I'm suggesting that we should use giraffe tech to solve this problem. So what exactly is giraffe tech? Well, it's a suit which employs the technology in the giraffe's arteries. So normally when a giraffe bends down to get water, the head should explode because of the pressure made by the flow of blood towards the head. But as you know, the head doesn't explode every time a giraffe puts its neck down to get some water. So what happens is that a giraffe can actually contract and expand its arteries to control the blood pressure. So in the same way, we could just make, giraffe tech allows us to make a suit which contracts and allows our body to expand according to the amount of pressure. So as soon as you get above about 3G, the giraffe suit starts to contract from the leg upwards. So as you go along, up to here would pretty much be tensed and contracted, so that all the blood won't flow downwards. And this actually works very convincingly well, because as demonstrated by this pilot recently, the suit allows the pilot to sustain 10 Gs and even higher. And all this at 10G, the pilot also gave us a bit of a surprise by solving a Rubik's Cube under no pressure whatsoever. He was feeling absolutely fine, just like on a Sunday afternoon, lying on the couch doing a Rubik's Cube. So, problem solved. Okay, the next problem. Protection for anything, such as light bulbs and even our heads. So our helmets don't actually entirely protect us. If we go into a really, really bad crash, I'm sure the helmet would crack and it would certainly damage a part of our skull, or any other part of the body in fact. A helmet only has 2 points of protection, whereas the solution to this problem, a woodpecker, has 4 different forms of protection. So first of all, it's the beak which bends as a woodpecker smashes into the woods. And believe it or not, this smash actually creates well above 20,000 G. And a fraction of that is what we can survive. It is at the point at which we can actually survive. So, what the woodpecker subjects its head to is something that we certainly could not survive. Certain death. So, what exactly are the other 3 forms of protection in a woodpecker's head? Well, as I told you, first of all, the beak, and then the second one is the skull. So underneath, the part which attaches the beak to the skull is the sort of spring layer which reduces all other forces. And then next you have a rigid skull, and then finally you have spongy bone, which just protects the contents inside. So, and as I told you already, compare this to the pitiful 2 layers of protection offered by our helmets today. And it's much better, seriously. So, we've actually made a case out of this, and we've even tested it. So we've put a filament bulb into this case, which has 4 layers of protection, remember that? And we've dropped it from several thousand kilometers out from outer space. And the results were very good. So, you know, on ordinary shopping trips, as you come home, the bulb sometimes breaks, and the filament breaks as well. And the filament is actually one of the thinnest pieces of metal in the world. And making sure that this survives a drop from several thousand kilometers from outer space is pretty hard. And guess what? Our case solved the problem. This case actually works. These 4 layers of protection, well, they can be implemented into anything. Laptop cases, even body armor. So, problem solved. Our next problem is the fact that electronics and water don't mix. I mean, seriously, if you drop a phone into, well, if you carry a phone into the toilet and drop it down the loo, well, it's dead. You can't get it back to life, can you? Well, a recent technology that was made actually says you can. So, well, it's very surprising where the solution comes from, because it's from a butterfly. Not just any butterfly, but a butterfly from the Amazonian rainforest. This butterfly can well, if a water droplet falls on either of its wings, it can severely damage its wing, and, wait for it, it can stop the butterfly from flying ever again. And that's just with a droplet of water. So how does a butterfly solve this problem? Well, on a butterfly, if you look much closer into the wings, you can see that they're not just smooth surfaces. They actually have ridges, and these ridges allow stop the water droplets from touching the wing itself. They act as rails and allow the water to just drop off. And this effectively solves the problem in butterflies. So, just implement that into electronics, and what you get is just a spray which you send it off to the scientists, the geeks, and they'll just put the phone in this sort of oven. Obviously it's not an oven, it just sprays every single layer of your phone with this coating. And then you receive it back, and you can test it. You can even put it down the loo if you like. I'm not suggesting anything. And then, if you get it out, it will work. It works. So, as with the other 2, problem solved. And our last problem is the turbulence caused by aeroplanes. I'm sure, as you know, when an aeroplane goes past your house, wherever you live, anywhere, even near work, it makes a lot of noise. This noise is called turbulence. And it's what's caused by air resistance and the sounds associated with it. And it's really distracting, it really is. And it's not something that we're particularly proud of. So, the answer actually comes from a barn owl. It's pretty much the least suspecting animal which you could get a solution from. But that is where the solution lies. Very unsuspectingly, a barn owl can actually fly with much less turbulence created from its wings than any other bird or any other thing in this world. So, if you compare a barn owl with a pigeon would displace a much larger volume of air, whereas a barn owl which would just displace maybe as much as only 10 centimeters cubed of volume of air, and that really is not a lot. So what exactly does a barn owl have that a pigeon doesn't? Well, barn owls have, on the front of the wing, they have serrated edges which just stop, they just break up the wind and stop it from actually going over the wing, which reduces the turbulence by a lot. And then if any air actually does manage to rush over the wing, they have soft velvet feathers, and these feathers just absorb as much turbulence as they can. And then finally, right at the edge of the wing, they have tattered edges to stop the turbulence again. And these, employed onto an aeroplane, would look quite daft. So we wouldn't actually employ it onto the body of an aeroplane, but the solution lies by employing it into the fans, the engine. And so what do? Well, you just add serrated edges, sections, to the back of each fan part. And so this actually effectively solves the problem. It creates soundless fans. And this can not only be used in aeroplanes, but in computers. Imagine that, yeah. Computers which make no noise whatsoever. And even ceiling fans and any other type of fan. Even silent hairdryers are possible. So, finally, problem solved. Overall, getting solutions from nature is not always easy. In fact, there are many problems which are unsolved even with nature's contribution. So, this is why I find this project very interesting. Thanks for watching.